Imagine you're blindfolded in front of all of these doors. You have to make a decision to go through one of them. One and only one of these doors leads to lifelong success, and all of the others lead to inevitable failure. The kind of stress that you feel when faced with this decision is the same stress that many high school graduates feel when faced with decisions about their future and career.
So, why do students feel so stressed about this decision? Part of the reason is that our society is flooded with misconceptions about society and about education and the workforce. But more importantly, education does not empower students to make the decision that is right for them.
Many students choose to opt for a college degree. In fact, 70% of students this year will go to college, and for good reason. The Census Bureau shows that students who graduate college will make an average of $17,000 more per year than those without a college degree. And those who only have a high school diploma are twice as likely to be unemployed. There's also a lot of statistics like this one from CNN that instill doubt in people about the value of college. In fact, they make it out to be sort of like an economic bubble. However, this is misleading because the statistics show that the available scholarship money is rising at the exact same rate as the price of college. There's also further division within liberal arts. Many people believe that other degrees, such as engineering, are inherently more valuable because people make more money. They doubt this quote from one of the leaders in liberal arts shows the importance of liberal arts when she says the success of both individuals and companies alike may be dependent more on a well-educated group with a diverse set of skills. This brings up an important point. Education is about more than just your salary.
So if your career isn't only defined by your salary, then what is it defined by? It's also a holistic view of all the formal education and training you've received throughout your life. A person should reflect all of the education they've received in the career that they choose to pursue. But it's more than even this. Personal experiences that a person collects throughout their lives can also be reflected in the proper career. This means that the right career for a person shows their perspectives and ideas in the creative solutions that they come up with in the workforce. However, many people are too busy focusing on the salary that they receive for their job instead of focusing on implementing these important themes in their workforce. So they avoid certain positions. Two very different positions that are affected by these stipulations are skilled labor and art. These are very different fields that students can go into, but many students graduating from high school avoid both of these fields for the same reasons. Many are unconfident about the salary that they will be able to receive in the fields of skilled labor and art. They don't feel like they'll be able to keep a job if they find one in these fields, and they don't know if they can go anywhere higher than an entry-level position in these fields. Generally, there's a wide feeling of dissatisfaction that pervades the field of education about both skilled labor and art. However, research published by Dr. Jonathan Rothwell in the American Journal of Science and Technology shows that nowhere in America are these jobs decreasing in either skilled labor or art, nor are the salaries collected by these people getting lower.
These misconceptions can make a student feel unsure about their future. A student feeling unsure about their future, however, is a symptom of a much deeper problem. The current state of education is in what educational researchers, such as Ivanova in his paper on formal education, call a humanistic crisis. Education is detached and impersonal. Education is no longer about the student, but rather about the curriculum that the teacher must teach by. The student is not supported by the system, and our society needs to implement a system to make the student more comfortable in their decisions about their future.
So there are some ways we can start to take positive steps towards making a better education that empowers students. One of these ways is online education. Online programs such as Khan Academy and edX provide an opportunity for students to pursue their own interests and also pursue education outside of the classroom. This gives students the opportunity to learn on their own, anytime, anywhere, for free. This is important because this helps us to implement solutions such as the flipped classroom that empowers students to make decisions on their own.
But these solutions aren't only in education, they can be applied on a wider scale to even the workforce. In France, the French government has implemented subsidies and other incentives for people entering the workforce in skilled labor and art positions. These incentives allow students to make the decision to pursue a career that interests them without having to be as afraid of the misconceptions that were previously addressed. While this is not a permanent solution, the American government could cooperate with French legislatures to create laws that might reflect this success in the American economy as well.
These solutions do not address, however, the lack of passion and the lack of confidence that students have when entering the workforce. What's needed is a totally new view on education in our society. This new view of education is called lifelong education, and it may seem like a bit of a non sequitur. However, lifelong education, as defined by Dr. Kind and Dr. Evans, is a continuously supportive process that is stimulating and empowering, and that fosters confidence, creativity, and enjoyment in all roles and circumstances. Lifelong learning isn't about learning for your entire life. It's about learning that supports you and guides you through a lifetime. It's about a teacher being a mentor beside you rather than a superior above you. These new schools will have to be based on creativity and collaboration. They will feel much more like an extracurricular than they will a formal education. The students will be given a creative space to find their passions and pursue their own ambitions and their own goals. Additionally, the education that they receive is based on experience. And by that, I don't just mean labs and hands-on activities. I mean real-world experience. The students will be given real-world problems, and they'll have to use their creative toolkit to find real-world solutions. This means that students have an ability to find what they love in life and pursue it, while also feeling confident that they can go into the workforce with the knowledge that they need to know. Of course, these new schools will have to have a lot of implementation issues due to the fact that they are so far from what the current state of education is. For one, standardized testing could not exist. In an educational system that is based on individual learning, there's no way to standardize what an individual is learning. And due to this, there is no continuation between schools. For example, if a student moved from one state to another, there is no way for a teacher to know what a student has learned, what they haven't learned, and what they want to learn. This is a problem that many schools will have to overcome. And additionally, due to the fact that teachers will have a very intimate connection with students, there will have to be a much greater amount of teachers to more effectively give an individual education to these students. And due to this, or due to the fact that there is a current lack of teachers in our society, this will be another big obstacle in the way of lifelong education. However, these are simply issues that need to be addressed, and the benefits that lifelong learning can give our society are vast despite these implementation issues.
Lifelong learning has many implementation issues that are important to take into consideration, but the benefits of empowering students and giving students the chance to learn things that they want to and build their own career are so important to society. So let's go back to the student, the one at the beginning who felt like they didn't have the tools to make a decision about their future. When we implement things such as lifelong learning and these steps we take towards education and skilled labor, we find that every student can find the right door for them. Educator Sal Khan, founder of Khan Academy, said this: "Today's world needs a workforce of creative, curious, and self-directed learners who are capable of conceiving and implementing novel ideas. This is the future of education."
All right, Preston, what information did you need before you began your research, and how did that information shape your research?
Before I began my research, I had a preconceived idea of what the state of skilled labor was in America, which was the topic of my research. However, when I began my research collecting data about the state of skilled labor and looking for whether or not these jobs were actually disappearing or whether the wages associated with these jobs were lowering, I actually found that the opposite was true. These positions were becoming more stable. So by researching and finding these differences, my presentation was definitely reshaped from what I expected.
Connor, how did your research question evolve as you were moving through the research?
So I actually began researching about self-education, and I found that a lot of what I was reading about wasn't sufficient for filling out an entire paper and a presentation solely based on self-education. And so from there, I started looking into other forms of education and how education can shift into the future. And I found lifelong education as kind of the best way that we can move on in the future from education.
Okay. Caleb, how did you handle the differing perspectives in order to reach your conclusion?
So we actually had lots of different perspectives all throughout the group. One example for me was liberal arts. When I was doing research, I found that some articles were saying that liberal arts was the best possible thing, and some were saying that it was completely useless. And so I think as a whole, and for me personally, I tried to use the different perspectives to give context and give sort of a conclusion that incorporates both the pros and the cons.